Let's start with a fundamental assumption. Historically, we have thought that we are getting smarter and better as a species. That's kind of the unquestioned narrative we begin with. It comes from the ideas of evolution, that there's a directionality to evolution. More specifically, it comes from the idea of Western European exceptionalism. The Western Europeans wanted to isolate themselves give themselves some sort of sense of superiority because they wanted to justify commodifying and owning other human beings. And the only way to do that is to make someone unequal to yourself. The way that they did that was to say that they are somehow more evolved. But they didn't use that term, they used the term civilized. I want to question that fundamental narrative, not because it's exploitative, although that would be a good enough reason. I want to question it because I don't think it's true. I think certain aspects of it are true. I think that we as a species have reached 8 billion people, and that wouldn't be possible without functioning water and sewer systems, relatively good health care around the world. We can get to space now, which is pretty cool. I have this microphone, which wouldn't be possible without thousands of years of human innovation and technology. We had to go through the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, and figure out electricity, all that stuff. So I love that. I'm not dissing on technology. That's real. What I want to talk about is human capacity. What if, and this is mostly a hypothesis. I'm kind of testing it out here. I don't know that it's true, but I know that the current paradigm of what I believe does not produce what I want. So I'm altering my belief system. Now, I haven't settled on this, but I'm exploring it. What if my previous statement about our primary modality of being energy and not matter, and all of the implications that means, what if that was a narrative we believed in and knew about and experienced more directly in the past, and that we have since forgotten? Or rather, in our exploration of what we believe to be advancement in technology, we have either intentionally or unintentionally started telling ourselves narratives that have wound up becoming an oubliette in which we are trapped. And the deeper we go into technology, the more trapped we become. Put more directly, when Western European Enlightenment happened, it was basically a systematic disenfranchisement of the Catholic Church, which needed to be done because the Catholic Church had become corrupt. It has good aspects to it, as do many things, but it was a problem. And the people who participated in the Enlightenment said, either consciously again or unconsciously, decided they needed to disenfranchise the Catholic Church. So they did that by saying, I think, therefore I am. And what that does is it recenters the locus of power from the Catholic Church, from the Pope saying you are, from God saying you are, through the Pope, to saying I am, and maybe there's a God. And maybe the Pope has good relationships with him, but we can't start there. We have to start with I am. If we start with I am, then you end up with this cascading sequence of beliefs that, what am I? You start looking around. You start using your 5 senses to analyze the world, and you end up with the scientific method. You say, hey, I believe this, you believe that. This belief system creates a paradigm by which we can analyze reality. I can get more into that in another vlog. I'm not going to do that now. When we say reality, what we are necessarily doing is we are collapsing the totality of the energetic universe in its natural state into a material universe that gets increasingly more and more material. And perhaps, again, this is a hypothesis I'm exploring, perhaps when we read stories of people in the past with, and I'm just going to call it what in modern terminology, people in the past with superpowers, we dismiss them as fantasy because they don't fit into our Western European Enlightenment paradigm. What if we're wrong? My current hypothesis is saying that we're wrong, that the people in the past did do those things. After I married the woman I love, we decided to leave the Bay Area San Francisco Bay Area because it got too expensive, and move down to Orange County, California. In between moving from San Jose, California to Orange County, California, we decided to take a month off and go to visit my new relatives in Japan. The woman I love is Japanese, or rather Japanese American. She was born in San Francisco. She is a US citizen, but of Japanese ethnicity and genetic origin. We stayed at her grandpa's house, her maternal grandpa's house, and each night while I slept, the bed shook itself. It did not have any motors that I was aware of. It did not sit, there was no earthquake, nothing else in the room was shaking, but every single night the bed shook itself. And Memi, my wife, thought it was me. She thought I was making it up, until one morning it shook itself while we were both awake, and she saw that I wasn't shaking it. What I'm getting at is that there are phenomena that are not accounted for within Western Enlightenment ideology. The counter-argument that Western ideology presents is that science is progressive, and I acknowledge that, it is. But sometimes we need to abandon fundamental assumptions of the nature of reality, such as when Euclid created the graph and flipped it on its side and called it a Euclidean plane, such that we can create a geometry of planes, XYZ axis. That was a good idea, and it was very useful, and it allowed us to plot trajectories, and for Isaac Newton to come up with things like gravity and again ballistics. The problem is it creates a sense of space where space itself is static, and Einstein proved that was not the case, that space in fact bends, and we had to come up with something, and we don't really have a better term for it, a non-Euclidean plane where the grid curves. The grid of space-time bends, and some weird things happen when you start doing that.
Landing there takes us dangerously close, and a black hole that big has a huge gravitational pull.
It's time. The gravity on that planet will slow our clock compared to Earth's drastically.
Oh, how bad?
Well, every hour we spend on that planet will be 7 years back on Earth. Well, that's relativity, folks.
I don't want to get into that again right now. What I want to talk about is that we had to abandon one idea in certain scenarios and adopt another idea that was more effective to solve some kinds of problems. That's the hypothesis I'm working on. And so where I end up with is a radical deconstruction. And I don't know what to deconstruct on the long run, except to say that the thing in front of me in this moment, I recognize to be a block. Now that block changes. As I remove one block, I see another one and another one. And that what I'm discovering, thanks to a brilliant interview with an astrologer and psychic on Rick Rubin's podcast, which I will share in the notes of this episode, I want to let go of this sense of, I want to be able to forget my body in the way that I described in the last vlog. I want to be able to fully center my awareness in my energetic self. And I can't force myself to get there. I've tried that. It doesn't work, because in forcing yourself to get there, you're starting from the point of view that this material reality is the only reality, is the center reality. So when you force, you're starting with materialism and trying to progress into an energetic state. It doesn't work, because the foundation is always materialism. Instead, you have to forget the materialism is a reality. And remember, for lack of a better term, that the energetic state is what you are. In my case, it means rewriting a lot of previously existing narratives. Now, as I try to enter into that transcendent energy state, I find almost a rubber band effect where I expand out and then I come back. I expand out and I come back. And my acquaintance, Andrew Descarte, said, it's a process and it takes time. And I'm in a hurry and I want to rush because I know that there's this amazing thing that's possible. I just don't know how to get there. And I critique myself because it's not happening as fast as I want it to. I'm not going to diagnose you. This is a process you have to do on your own. But I want to share with you my process for finding these blocks and removing them. Again, your blocks are going to be different because you have a different narrative that you've lived into. As I forgot my body and got drawn back, I noticed, I didn't even notice. I was lost. I said, I'm doing things I don't want to do that are contrary to where I know I want to be going, and I can't seem to resist them. And what that means is that there's a narrative that I want to believe that I'm not ready or willing to let go of yet. So I did a meditation, I did the breathing, I did the centering of my body. I paused, I did my 10 deep breaths, counting to 10 for each inhale and exhale. I scanned my body, and then I asked my energetic self, which I know to be real, and where God ends and that begins, I don't know. If there is even a discontinuity, it might be one thing. What is my current block? And I immediately got the term validation. And it rang true in me, it resonated. When I got validation, I saw that my motivation for many of the things I do is validation. The reason being an iconoclast is troubling to me is because some people who aren't me get upset with me, and that questions my sense of validity. We are in community with each other, and it's healthy to be that way. The problem is when the community becomes counterproductive and starts telling us narratives that aren't real or aren't in the direction that we're going. What kind of mind space do we have to enter into to maintain that compassion and love for each other while still ignoring the false narratives that are being fed back to us when they reject us for being iconoclasts? Sorry for referring to myself in the plural. When I drink alcohol, which I sometimes do more often than I should, I notice my frontal lobe calms down. I stop thinking, and the narrative that my body has learned that is independent of the narrative that I am currently heading towards takes over, and I start doing things I don't want to do. I look at porn. I behave quickly and rashly. And I think maybe caffeine may do the same thing. I'm not 100% certain on that because caffeine also seems to stimulate my frontal lobe, which again, maybe the whole thing's connected. When I say frontal lobe, I think higher self, but in fact, it's a material thing. So I don't know, but Dalai Lama drinks tea every morning and that's got caffeine, so I'm not quite ready to throw that one out. I'm not saying porn is bad. I'm not saying it's good. It's something that is. I have friends who are sex workers. I respect them. They're very intelligent, capable people. And they made their choice and they're on their own karmic journey. For me, what I go there for comes from a sense of being told that when I succeed, when I'm good at life, I will get a woman. That's what success looks like. And there's all kinds of other stuff too. I was told love worked a certain way, and my wife, being Japanese American, does not express love in the way that I was told. This left me feeling like I'm not man enough, compounded by the fact that I have not chosen a standard life of going and getting a standard job within the Western system. Not anything wrong with that. If you like that, if it's working for you, keep going until it stops working for you. But for me, I chose novel writing and then narrative filmmaking. And now the two kind of are happening together. And I'll get into that maybe at the end of this or maybe in another vlog. I do not live in a way where I am bringing in money, where I'm the primary supporter of my family unit. Western narrative says take care of my wife. And I do take care of her emotionally. And I take care of her by cooking for her and doing the household chores. But I don't bring in the money. And that, compounded by her Japanese American modality of affection, compounded by her being on the autistic spectrum, compounded by society telling me I'm not doing it right, I'm not good enough, I'm not making money, compounded by my saying things Hollywood doesn't want to produce. All of my senses of validation were questioned. And they're still, and I still struggle with that. That's what I'm hanging on to. I want to be valid. But as I say these things, even now, as I say them, they fly in direct contradiction to the thing that I know to be true, which is to say that if something can be valid, something can be invalid. That makes no sense. Because if we're all energy, if I am all energy, no matter, there is no matter. If everything is one energetic state and the universe is moving according to that, manifesting in various modalities, there's no separation. And if there's no separation, how can there be invalidity? It's not possible. When we say invalid, what we mean is we have a narrative to which this thing does not conform. But it's precisely those narratives that have kept us from living into our energetic state. I can't be invalid because there's no such thing as invalid. I can't be separated because there's no such thing as other. Part of what an effect of what Descartes' I think therefore I am did is that he created a subject-object orientation. He objectified himself and then made his view of reality subject to his own objectification, such that reality became something other than what he was. And we have lived into that narrative so completely that we now believe the entire universe is separate from us. But I led you in a meditation last week, which if you were able to do, you now know that that separation isn't real, because your awareness expanded beyond your own body to include your room, your home, your neighborhood, your country, our planet. If your awareness can extend beyond your body to include the entire planet, what then is the subject-object orientation? It's a delusion. A delusion that seems so real because it's everything that we seem to present ourselves with, like what Morpheus said in The Matrix when talking to Neo.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Because it's so difficult to wrap your head around the entirety of the idea that what you think is intrinsic reality is a hologram, not a simulation, a hologram. A hologram that is subject to energetic awareness. That's an interesting idea. We become the programmers, and we're running programs we don't even consciously know. I feel my energetic state. I feel the energy on top of my head. I'm shifting my awareness from the idea that my body is solid to the tingling that I've felt is now not energy stored in the capacitor of my body, but instead is a revelation to me of my intrinsic self, my energetic self. I feel a oneness with all things. I feel a oneness with my hands on this leather chair on the armrest. I feel a oneness with you. I see some of you are able to feel the joy and the excitement that I feel as we talk about this new space that is an old space, that is the only space. And some of you are frustrated, and that's okay. And some of you are angry, and some of you think this is nonsense, and that's okay. I feel it all. It reminds me of that scene in X-Men where Professor Xavier is showing what it's like inside the experience of Cerebro. But that's my brain trying to classify this experience. What are the key? This is me asking my higher self, God, whatever. What is the key to me letting go of the valid, invalid narrative, the subject-object orientation? What am I hanging on to that I don't acknowledge? What do I want to hang on to that I'm not acknowledging? I don't want to make the same distinction that Paul the Apostle made, which is the things that I want to do, I don't do, but the things that I do not want to do, I find myself doing. Therefore, it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me, who will free me from this body of death. I don't want to make that distinction. Because all things are being reunited with God into perfect unity, reunited with energetic states. Perfect unity, all things. My body is not evil. My body was created by God, and God is good, therefore my body is good. My body is helping me get where I want to go. My body is facilitating this sense of calmness and of sharing it with you. When I act, that act is a meditation. That act is a form of programming. The underlying motivation and nature of the action then becomes the modality of programming in which I live, in which I manifest, into which I live. My dad's dying, slowly. But once he was a very wise, smart man. And he said, think of yourself as two dogs, one good, one bad. Which dog is going to thrive? The one you feed more. What actions, without condemning other actions, without thinking about it hierarchically or achieving, which actions can I live into that are coincidental to the narrative I'm exploring, the narrative of energy. How do I unlearn the previous programming? I feel the two narratives, and they kind of feel like the symbol of the Tao right now, the yin and yang spinning forever in concert with each other. I feel my heart beating because of the caffeine and the sugar in my beverage of choice, and I feel my energetic self. And the fact that I'm still making that distinction means that I'm in this in-between space, this liminal space. When I say I feel my heartbeat, what I really feel are the reverberations of the muscle that is my heart through my body. In other words, I feel energy. Energy in different forms, energy as material in motion. But there's the other energy too, that sense of oneness and awareness and tingling. Sometimes when I'm in this meditative state, they feel like acupuncture pricks on my face. But I don't feel that right now. What I feel they feel like one of the tips of a cartoon lightning bolt lancing towards me and then pulling away, trying to find vulnerability, trying to find purchase on the self that those negative ideas, those contracted lower energy state entities try to impose on me. And some of those are myself, and some of them are actual entities independent of me, in as much as that anything can be independent of anything else. The other night in meditation, I was in a similar awareness space, and I felt the only way I can describe it is like light. I felt the translucent nature of my body, not transparent, not clear, and not opaque, such that I couldn't see through it. Translucent. It felt, like that. And I tried to put my hand through the floor, and it didn't go through. And I immediately became aware that the reason that it didn't go through is because I was trying to push my body through the floor, centering my awareness on my body, not my energetic self. I can't push my body through the floor, that's physics. But my energetic self can pull my body through the floor, because it's all just energy. See the difference there? See the difference in paradigms? I didn't get through the floor, in case you're wondering. But that doesn't mean I won't ever. One friend of mine, Matt, and I have an agreement that when I can teleport to him, he and I will go for a walk and I will teach him. Until then, he's kind of skeptical about all of this, and I think that's a hilarious and perfect response. I don't know what this is about. I don't know why that meditation was helpful. I don't expect you to view that as a guided meditation, but feel free to use it as a kind of map for your own journey. You of course would experience very different questions and very different answers, and they're right. They're not wrong answers if you get different answers. They are the right answers for you because you are undoing your own narratives. If you don't find it useful, that's fine too. But I'm going to keep going. I want to keep going. There's so much I have to talk about this week, but I have other stuff to do today. And hopefully this means something to you. You'll see me next week.